Good afternoon, everybody. Again, Sarah Brady with the Corporation for National and Community Service. This afternoon's call, we're going to focus on your pre-PSO and your pre-PSO blend call and information. So throughout this call, I'm going to be preparing you for what you should be planning for leading up to your VISTA service term start date. The majority of folks on this call are from our national VISTA project, NeighborWorks America, and we also have some VISTA members who will be serving directly in the state of Ohio on this call as well. I work in the Ohio State Office as a program officer and oversee VISTA projects in the state and assist with the oversight of the NeighborWorks America VISTA project. I have the great fortune of being the person who leads most of the trainings for our VISTA members and VISTA supervisors, and so that's why I am on the call with you this afternoon. I was a VISTA member myself back in 2003 to 2005. I think I've lost my street credibility as it relates to being a VISTA at this point, but I certainly can relate to the experience that all of you are in right now, getting yourselves ready to begin your VISTA service term. So I'm excited to be welcoming you to the National Service family as having been a participant myself and now being an individual who works for the agency that funds the AmeriCorps VISTA program. So welcome. As I mentioned, you're part of this large National Service family. More than 80,000 individuals are serving in AmeriCorps nationally. And when I say AmeriCorps, I mean several streams of AmeriCorps service, which would include AmeriCorps State and National, AmeriCorps VISTA, and AmeriCorps NCCC. There are only 6,000 individuals serving with the AmeriCorps VISTA program on an annual basis. Our program is very specific. It's very intensive, and it focuses specifically on poverty alleviation. So we're a little unique when it comes down to the relation of our AmeriCorps program related to the NCCC and AmeriCorps state and national programs. I would venture to guess that several of you who are on this call right now have participated in an AmeriCorps state or an AmeriCorps NCCC program. And if that's the case, well, welcome to the VISTA family. I'm glad to see that you have chosen to continue your service and have chosen the VISTA route to do so. Not only are you part of 80,000 individuals serving in AmeriCorps annually and 6,000 individuals serving in VISTA annually, there's a whole nother stream of service within our agency called Senior Corps. And within that program, we have close to 400,000 individuals serving within that program annually, which means we have over 400,000 national service members serving at any given time with the Corporation for National and Community Service Programs, which is the agency that funds the AmeriCorps VISTA program. Every single person who dedicates even a portion of their lives to service is to be commended, and I certainly want to thank you for choosing this opportunity as part of your career. I know, having been a VISTA member myself, that this can be a life-changing experience, one that I'm sure you will all look fondly on in the future and while you're serving. So our agenda today, we're going to talk about what VISTA is as a program, what PSO is, what is expected of you during your PSO blend experience. We'll talk about the fingerprinting process and talk briefly about VISTA member benefits. This agenda is specifically focused on preparing you for your service term. And it's specifically designed to make sure you have all of the administrative requirements completed when you walk into your service site on day one, and also then to prepare you for the training that you're going to be receiving within the first 3 weeks of your service through our blend process. So you should expect to leave this call with a better understanding. I'm not going to say perfect understanding, but I will say a better understanding of what is expected of you moving forward. So first of all, I want to introduce you to the Corporation for National and Community Service. I'm sure many of you see this logo and say, what is the Corporation for National and Community Service? I signed up for VISTA. Well, the Corporation for National and Community Service is the federal agency that receives the appropriations to fund the AmeriCorps and Senior Corps programs. And our specific mission as an agency is focused on improving lives, strengthening communities, and fostering civic engagement through service and volunteering. Each of our programs within the Corporation for National and Community Service have very specific missions that drill down into what the spirit of that particular program is. The corporation is the vehicle that allows us to do that. So VISTA, what is VISTA? It's a great trivia question. People have been hearing this term for years and don't know what VISTA is. As a matter of fact, if you type VISTA into Google, you might learn about a Microsoft program that lasted for a very short period of time. If you search in Google, you will eventually find the Volunteer in Service to America program, which is what VISTA is. It's a program specifically designed and developed to focus on poverty alleviation. And it was designed to be what is considered a full immersion program. So individuals who serve as VISTA members initially were intended to live within the community that they were going to serve and live at the same within the same conditions of those individuals that they are going to serve. Which means during your service term you are going to be receiving you'll be receiving a living allowance for your service, and those are based upon what the local wages would be for an individual who is in poverty. You'll be serving in a local community for 1 year, and while you are serving in your local community for 1 year, you have a very important task, and that task is to help people come out of poverty. And the way you're going to do that is through building the capacity of organizations who are trying to help people who are in poverty. You're going to be building their capacity so that they can better serve individuals who are in poverty. People do this in many ways. People do this through developing new programming specifically targeted at the low-income community so that they have better access to employment. They have access to jobs. They have access to housing, healthcare. We want to essentially create access points for people who are in poverty to gain the assets and resources necessary to bring themselves out of poverty. Sometimes that requires developing programming. Some communities are in a situation where they have a lot of individuals who are in poverty, but they don't know what their needs are. So some of you are going to be assessing community needs. Some of you will be building partnerships so that several organizations and groups can work together to help people who are in poverty and increase their ability to serve the low-income population. And then some of you are going to be recruiting volunteers who are going to be delivering programs to individuals who are in poverty. This is a short list. This is not the only thing that you may be doing. These are not the only items that you may be working on throughout your service term. But they're certainly the primary focus and the primary activities that VISTA members participate in during their service term. But I wouldn't expect you all to be bound to any of these 4 items. This is just an example and showing you an illustration of the activities that you could be doing. It's very important that you understand that VISTA is not a job. It is intended to be a service opportunity for you. So with that said, With VISTA, you do not receive unemployment benefits, um, and that's an important factor. Once you leave the VISTA program at the end of your service term, once you successfully complete your service term, unemployment is not available to you. So that's one of the things to be aware of as you go through your VISTA service. Also, what you are receiving on a biweekly basis through your from the AmeriCorps VISTA program is considered a living allowance or subsistence allowance and is not considered wages. And so it's not treated like wages would be treated within your individual states. What you will be receiving during your service term is a living allowance that is subject to taxes, but only federal taxes are taken out. State taxes are not. We'll talk about that in more detail in a little bit, but I wanted to be very clear that you are not an employee when you participate in the VISTA program, but you're rather an individual who is serving for your local communities through a national service program. And we would say that you're members of a national service program. You're VISTA members, and your role is important. So how do we in my office prepare you for success? And how does my agency make sure that you can be successful as a VISTA member? What we do is not on an annual basis, frequently throughout the calendar year, we provide VISTA candidates rather, who are going to become VISTA members, opportunities to participate in PSO or PSO blend. We're going to focus on PSO blend because the folks on this call are primarily going to be attending PSO blend. PSO, first of all, stands for pre-service orientation. This is confusing when I talk about PSO blend because the PSO blend process, it straddles the line of pre-service and in-service. But regardless, through your PSO blend experience, you're going to learn more about VISTA, more details about VISTA and the deep-rooted history and legacy of VISTA that has been born out of 50 years of individuals participating in the program. You're going to have the opportunity to virtually meet individuals who are also VISTA members throughout the country when you participate in the PSO blend. The PSO blend is also intended to give you the opportunity to look at your service assignments, get a good understanding of what's expected of you during your year, and explore those assignments so you have a good understanding of what you are going to be doing for this year of service. And hopefully during your PSO blend process, you'll be learning strategies to better understand the communities in which you're serving. Now, this training is targeted at a national audience of VISTA members, but they will give you strategies for taking a look at your local communities and understanding your local communities. So the blend process is essentially, it's an interactive training with some self-directed components, some webinars, and some smaller group meetups, all of which will be virtual. And so it's important that you are comfortable with technology, at least basic technology comfort, because you will be asked to navigate to different websites to complete all of the tasks related to your PSO blend process. So when does your blend begin? The primary target audience for this particular call is participation in a PSO blend that will begin August 28th. Some of you might be on a little different schedule, and if that's the case, you can ignore the date, but everything else is pertinent to you. You're going to participate in your first webinar related to the PSO blend at your service site location on August 28th. However, you're going to do some work leading up to that point to participate in what would be the pre-service expectations related to the blend process. During the blend process, you're going to have facilitators who will be facilitating conversations and meetups during the process so that you can get some familiarity with individuals who have had experience with the VISTA program in the long term. To prepare for PSO blend, you're going to have to do a number of items, which include pre-service coursework and onboarding paperwork. what I want to do is I'm going to switch over my view, and I'm going to show you the resources that are going to be of great assistance for you and are going to instruct you on how you're going to navigate and complete your pre-service work that's required before you show up to your service site on day 1 of your service term. And so what we're switching over to very quickly right now, or slowly depending on how my computer wants to work today, is we are switching over to the VISTA campus. So what you should all see on your screen now is the VISTA campus. And I'm just making it a little smaller so that I can navigate better between screens. So what you see here is the VISTA campus online, which the website is vistacampus.gov. Now that you have all been selected to serve as VISTA members, the first thing you'll want to do is come and create an account on this page. Now, because I already have an account, you'll see that I have a login button here, but there will also be a button for you to create an account as a new user. Once you create an account as a new user, the first thing you'll want to do is navigate to the Life as a VISTA tab right over here, and then you're going to click on, Starting VISTA. This is going to be the most important resource for you leading up to your VISTA service. And I see that you just lost my screen, and I'm going to try and regroup here, and we're going to go ahead and, let's see, present my desktop, go to monitor 2, present, okay. Fortunately, I got an error while I was doing this, which is very unusual for this website. So you should now see my screen again. What I'm going to do is, again, navigate to Life as a VISTA, click on Starting VISTA, and the next screen you're going to see is basically, it's not a checklist per se, but it's a navigation page for showing you all of the things that you need to do prior to your first day of service. So we're going to give this a moment to load. And when we navigate to this page, you're going to see several resources that are available to you. You're going to see some training opportunities, online training opportunities that will be optional. You'll see some training opportunities that will be required. And then you'll also see a list of all of the paperwork that is required of you to complete prior to beginning your service term. Now, while I'm waiting for this page to load, I'm going to take this as an opportunity. I keep saying do this before your service term. The reason this is important, all of the paperwork and coursework that I'm going to reference as it's related to your pre-service orientation is important because you're going to need to have all of that paperwork done prior to beginning your service term, because we cannot activate you as a VISTA member until that paperwork is complete, which means we can't pay you until all of your paperwork is complete. Apparently this page is having technical difficulties. And so I've never had this issue before, and of course it happens when I'm on the phone with 65 new VISTA candidates. But I do have some checklists that I'll show you in a moment that will walk you through all of the paperwork and courses that will need to be completed before you begin service. Again, vistacampus.gov is going to be your home site for all of the important information. But before I get to those checklists, I want to walk you through a couple of other resources that I do already have pulled up on my screen. The first is when you start to get information about your PSO blend, you're going to get a document called Guide to Entering Your VISTA Service, and this is going to explain to you when your pre-work should be completed. Now I'm using an older document, but I just wanted to show you this document. It's going to give you all of the deadlines on when your paperwork or coursework is due leading up to service and once you begin your PSO blend process. What you're also going to have access to is a page that walks you through onboarding on the VISTA campus. And it will walk you through, here we go, again, another page that will walk you through all of the coursework that's required and all of your onboarding forms. So this page is essentially what I wanted to get to when that page wasn't working. It just has a little different look to it. But this page is going to show you that all of these courses here at the top, the PSO Blend Self-Assessment Form, VISTA Campus Overview, Terms, Conditions, Benefits of Service, Civil Rights and Responsibilities, and the Mission and Legacy of VISTA. These are required coursework that you need to complete prior to showing up to your first day of service. And these will all be done online at your leisure up to your start date. Now, leading up to your start date, my office will be running completion checks to make sure that you've completed all the courses and paperwork. So the quicker you get it done, the less likely you are to get several emails asking you to complete your courses. You'll also see there's recommended coursework for individuals who might be interested in the child care benefit. Now, the forms I was talking about related to making sure that you're getting paid, which I know many of you have a lot of stake in, are the required onboarding forms. Down here on this page, which is where you'll find the coursework and onboarding information, you're going to find the required onboarding forms and the links that show you how to complete these forms online. These forms will be completed on the My AmeriCorps portal, which is where you applied for your AmeriCorps VISTA assignment. So this is what I mean. You're going to have to be able to navigate through several pages. You do your onboarding form on the My AmeriCorps portal. These courses up here, you're going to do right here on the VISTA campus. When you participate in PSO Blend, you're going to do that on the VISTA classroom. And so what you're seeing on your screen right now is this is a public view of the VISTA classroom, and it shows you exactly what the PSO Blend looks like. So it talks you through course resources down here at the bottom of the page that you're seeing right now. And then it walks you through the expectations for week 1. What are the webinars? What are the coursework assignments? When are the virtual meetups? How you access your virtual meetup assignments. So these are going to be the 3 websites that you're going to navigate between during your pre-service and in-service requirements. The VISTA Campus, the My AmeriCorps portal, and the VISTA Classroom. There's also a document for your PSO Blend. It's the PSO Blend Workbook. This can be found on the VISTA Classroom, and it walks you through all the goals of the PSO Blend experience, walks you through the resources that are going to be helpful for you. Now, not to shift gears too much, but because I talked about how filling out your enrollment paperwork is so important to getting you paid, what I do want to show you is there is an access link on the VISTA campus for you to figure out what your living allowance will be in the location in which you're serving. And this document, again, can be found on the VISTA campus and has each county listed and the allowances that you would be receiving in a bi-weekly allowance check. So anyway, that's just for your reference. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back to the presentation, and we're going to go ahead and start talking through the remainder of the PowerPoint presentation. The next 2 slides that you're going to see once we get there are going to be focused on basically a checklist related to the coursework that I just showed you. So before you begin service, you're going to do coursework, and there's a list of 5 courses that are required for you to take. Once those courses are done, you're going to move to the next screen and make sure that, if we can get the slides to move. We're having technological difficulties in my office across the board today, so I do thank you for your patience while I navigate through the system. So the next page focuses specifically on the paperwork or enrollment paperwork process. And these are the forms that you need to complete in the My AmeriCorps portal. So paperwork requirement checklists, end of service benefit election form, travel profile if you're relocating for service, W-4 form, etc. This is all done in the My AmeriCorps portal. The previous screen, the coursework, that is all done on the VISTA campus. Now we're going to advance and start talking about once you complete your coursework, once you complete your online paperwork, then what? What comes next? The first thing I would do is make sure that your email address in the My AmeriCorps portal is current, because a lot of communication for your training is going to come directly through the through your email. If you are unresponsive to the emails that are coming out to you, our team will remove you from the training simply to make room for other individuals who are being responsive. So make sure that you're responding to emails as you're getting those, because the PSO blend is your entry point for your VISTA service term. So you'll want to watch for email communication about your blend coursework. If you're relocating 50 miles or more to your service site, you're going to receive travel relocation information from our VISTA member support unit, and that will come through email as well. You should also plan on receiving some sort of communication from your site supervisor letting you know what the service hours are at your service site location, also letting you know where and when you should show up on your first day of service. So be prepared for that. The things that you do need to know about the PSO blend. Once you get through the email communication leading up to PSO blend, we want you to know the following about your PSO blend. You're going to be sworn into service during the first webinar that you attend on the first day of your service. And that is very important, because that oath of service is basically your ticket to activation within our program. We want to make sure that you are on time for all of your sessions and fully participatory in all of your sessions, and that you're completing all of the coursework that's required of you while you are participating in the PSO blend. They'll call it likely fieldwork. Fieldwork coursework, you're going to have 3 assignments, 3 dates in which assignments are due during the PSO blend process. Also, on your first day of service, when you do take your oath of service, your VISTA supervisor should be present to witness your oath and to assist you with submitting the oath form. So during blend, what you can expect. Day 1 of your VISTA assignment, you show up to your service site in the afternoon or morning if you're out on the West Coast. You're going to participate in a Launching Your VISTA Service webinar. The third day of your service term, you're going to participate in a webinar that is related to navigating your year of service. None of these webinars will be more than 2 hours, but your supervisors will be copied on communication related to when these trainings are happening so that they know to free up your time for these particular events. In week 2 and 3, on the Wednesdays of your second and third work of service, there is going to be a virtual meetup where you will meet up with a facilitator and other individuals who are serving as VISTA members, and you'll participate in a meetup that will walk you through some other training components related to PSO. On week 1, 2, and 3, on the Sundays of those weeks, primarily the third week on the Friday, you're going to have coursework that is due. And it's going to include comprehension checks. There will be some videos to watch related to poverty, and also looking at into the future of your service term. So those are the expectations during your PSO blend process. Week 4 of your service term, your fingerprint kits are due. And you might be saying, what do you mean fingerprint kits? So I'm going to just slide right on and talk specifically about fingerprinting. As VISTA members, all of you are going to need to be fingerprinted and have an FBI check completed for you. Your supervisors have fingerprint kits and fingerprint cards. They're going to be providing those cards and kits to you, at which point you're going to go to a local establishment that can roll your fingerprints, get your fingerprints completed, and then your supervisor will be giving you a UPS label so you can UPS your fingerprints directly to the Corporation for National and Community Service. Those fingerprints are required. On this slide, I say that those are due 3 weeks from your start date, and I like to tell all of the members who are serving within Ohio managed projects to get those fingerprint kits in and get them completed early. So 3 weeks from your start date, you should have submitted your fingerprints cards to our headquarter office. There may be a cost to you related to getting your fingerprints completed, and if that's the case, know that you will be getting $25 in your first paycheck from us to cover the cost of getting your fingerprints completed. So your supervisors can help you identify the best method for making sure your fingerprints are getting completed and are completed on time. If you don't get your fingerprints done, it is possible that we would terminate you from service. If they're not done, we likely will place you on administrative hold, which means you can't serve until we get your fingerprints from you. Now, some of you might be saying or thinking, did I disclose everything I should have disclosed on my application? We have this all the time. If you feel as though you may have forgotten to disclose a criminal history, a piece of your criminal history on your application, and your fingerprints come back with any type of hit that wasn't previously disclosed on your VISTA application, that could be grounds for termination. With that being said, if you find yourself in a situation where you may have forgotten to disclose something on your application, reach out to your supervisor, let your supervisor know, and then they will communicate that with my office, at which point we will get you cleared for service prior to starting your service. What we want to make sure is you're disclosing everything prior to beginning service, and that is important because if the fingerprints do come back and you didn't disclose the information that is considered on your application, that is considered lying on a federal form. And I don't want any of you to be in a situation where you were not honest on a federal form. So we're trying to help you with that by giving you the opportunity to disclose any issues or items before your service term even begins. So what I talked you through is what you can expect during the PSO blend process, what you should know about fingerprints, but I want to just walk you through very briefly what you can expect during your VISTA service term as it's related to some of your benefits. So first of all, the VISTA campus is probably one of the best resources that is available for you. It's there's a section, I like to call it Facebook for VISTA, but it's not really Facebook for VISTA. There are areas where if you choose, you can connect with other VISTA members. There's a VISTA map. You can see other people who are serving within your area. You can choose not to be on that map if that is your preference. So you have a lot of latitude in that. But the VISTA campus is also a tool in which you can take webinars that are offered by the Corporation for National and Community Service and VISTA headquarters. And those trainings will give you the opportunity to learn more about fund development, learn more about community development, etc. There are actually a couple of courses that can be translated into college coursework and can be taken for credit. Those do require an application process. One is focused specifically on fund development, which I know has been fantastic for a lot of members in Ohio and through the NeighborWorks project. So I would recommend that you navigate through the VISTA campus, find what resources are available to you, and utilize those during your service term. The VISTA campus has several sections about VISTA, which is general VISTA information, life as a VISTA, the work, which will focus on some of the poverty alleviation and capacity building goals. The Connect and Learn is where you're going to find that map that I was speaking of. There's a section specifically for VISTA leaders and VISTA supervisors. So this is the main screen of the VISTA campus. I suspect that all of you will have no problems navigating this page and getting access to what you need on the VISTA campus. So I want to dive into VISTA member benefits. We'll talk about this briefly. I only want to spend probably about the next 6 minutes on this because I'd like to leave the last 15 minutes for questions and answers. The VISTA member benefits that I do want to rush through a little bit include leave time, subsistence allowances, end of service award, child care coverage, and non-competitive eligibility. Just to talk you through some of these benefits or of your service, please note you receive 10 personal leave days, 10 medical leave days. With special approval, you can receive additional emergency leave days up to 5 days. It has to be approved by the corporation, not just by your supervisor, and you can receive an additional 5 medical leave days. Again, has to be approved by the corporation for national and community service before it can be offered to you. These leave benefits are available to you, but you do have to follow your agency's policies as it's related to requesting leave. And so medical leave days would be taken for medical purposes, while personal leave days would be taken for personal circumstances as it relates to your agency's policies. There is no such thing as maternity leave. I want to be upfront about that. If you are in a situation, and the reason I am upfront about that is because it's often misunderstood. And so I don't want anybody to think that you are entitled to that type of benefit when it doesn't exist. But a couple of things about leave time. If you run out of leave time, your supervisor is not allowed to help negotiate additional leave time for you or negotiate you serving more hours one week to take some hours off the next. When you run out of leave time, basically that's the end of your service term, because the commitment is a 365-day commitment with only 10 days medical and 10 days personal leave, which actually is pretty good for the first year wherever you would be working if it was employment. We want to remind you that during your service term, this is considered a full-time commitment. So you should be serving 40 hours a week approximately, and you're going to be learning what your service hours are from your service site on the first couple of days of service. Again, the allowance rate that you'll be receiving during your service term varies based on your location, and there is a link directly in the PowerPoint that links you to the pay rate for your counties. Your supervisors should all be aware of what your pay rate is, so you can ask your supervisors for assistance in knowing what the pay rate is. You are paid on a bi-weekly basis. Some projects are paid by monthly NeighborWorks members, since that's the primary audience here, that you are paid bi-weekly. Allowances are taxed, and state taxes are not taken out, but federal taxes are. A couple of things about the end of service award. There is a choice between a cash stipend and an education award. If you choose the cash stipend, you'll be receiving the cash stipend in your last paycheck of $1,500. The education award is paid to you through a voucher process, and that voucher will be, it's a virtual voucher. It's received on the My AmeriCorps portal, and you can make payments to past qualified lenders and future qualified institutions through our website. When I say qualified, I mean federally backed institutions or federally backed student loans. You cannot switch from the stipend to the education award during your service term, but you can switch from the education award to the stipend within the first 10 months of your service term. If you're on the fence about which award to take, you would want to take the education award right now, because you do have the opportunity to switch to the other. There is child care coverage. If you have children under the ages of 13 and you need child care to make it possible for you to complete your service term. You are eligible to receive some child care benefits. The child care benefits are paid directly to your child care provider, and they are based on income eligibility and prorated based on household income. So you can receive up to $400 per month per child. 400 is not a guaranteed flat rate. It's up to that amount per child. Upon successful completion of your service term, if you are an individual who is excited about VISTA because it's going to provide you it's going to provide you an opportunity to move into federal service, you will receive, upon successful completion of your service, non-competitive eligibility, which essentially gives you the opportunity to apply and compete for federal positions above the general population. So you'll be competing against federal employees or other people with non-compete status. Those are the benefits. I want to mention two commonly misunderstood rules that exist for you during your service term. One is you cannot participate in political activities as part of your member service, which means you cannot, while identified as a VISTA member or identified as an individual serving at your service site, you cannot lobby for any items. You cannot lobby any political parties. You cannot ask people to support a bill related to the issues that you are working on. You cannot ask people to vote for any levies within your community. You can do that stuff on your own time when you're not representing VISTA, but you cannot do it as part of your VISTA service. Same with religious activities. The only thing that I would say here is if you are at a faith-based organization and your faith-based organization chooses to pray before staff meetings, they cannot force you to do so. But if you would like to pray alongside your colleagues during those meetings, you are certainly welcome to do so. So those are some commonly misunderstood rules. So some next steps for after this call. Next steps after this call, you should log into the MyAmeriCorps portal, and actually this should say and verify your email address. Make sure your email address is correct. Prior to your PSO blend, complete all of the required paperwork. Understand and communicate with your supervisors to get familiar with where you should be on your first day of service, what's expected for you on your first day of service, and make sure you're completing all of your coursework. As I mentioned, we're going to be sending emails leading up to your first day of service, letting your supervisors know if the paperwork is completed so that they can follow up with you. And that is to help make sure that you are activated in a timely fashion and paid accordingly. So we're always looking out for your best interest when we're communicating, trying to get all of your paperwork completed. So with that being said, I anticipate some questions. I'm going to ask for those of you who have questions and are on the chat or on Skype to go ahead and enter your questions into the conversation bar on the left-hand side of Skype. For those of you who do not have questions and were unable to log into Skype and are only on the phone line, I'm going to ask you to email me to let me know you are on the call. My email address is sbrady, that's sbrady, B-R-A-D-Y, at cns.gov. C as in Kathy, N as in Nancy, S as in Sarah, .gov. And in the subject line of the email, you can simply state PSO blend, PSO blend in the subject line, and then your name and the organization you're serving with in the body of the email. So I don't see any questions coming in through chat. So what I'm going to do, hopefully this means I've answered everybody's questions. Ooh, here's a question. So are we going to receive allowance for apartment down payment? So as far as if you are relocating for service, and you have approved relocation for service. In your first paycheck, you receive a $550 settling in allowance, and that can be used to help with down payments for an apartment or such. But that is only for individuals who are relocating for service. And that is not paid for up front, but is paid for in your first subsistence allowance check or living allowance check. And as far as holiday leave is concerned, you do have holiday leave. You take the holidays according to your organization where you're serving, what their holiday schedule is. Every organization observes different holidays, but you will follow your organization's holiday policy. If you do not have health insurance at the time of our start date, so this is a really great question. And the answer to that, Ben, is as far as VISTA is concerned, we do not penalize you. But during your service term, there are two health benefits that are available to you. First of all, the law is that you should be buying into the Affordable Care Act unless you are eligible for an exception. If you are receiving an exception, then the benefit that is available to you through VISTA is a basic health coverage plan that would help cover very, very basic health needs like physical exams, emergency dental, etc. That is only available to people who receive an exception from having to have health coverage. Now, for those of you who have health coverage when you become a VISTA member, what you can do is opt into a reimbursement plan that we provide. It's kind of like a health savings account in which we have $6,000 and we will pay for any expenses related to co-pays for doctor's appointments that your insurance did not cover. And that's paid through a reimbursement process. So you may or may not use that full $6,000 during your service term. So that's a little bit how the health coverage works. Again, we don't have necessarily a penalty for you related to not having insurance, but you do have I don't remember the amount of days, so I'm not even going to say a number of days. You do have a certain number of days leading up to the cutoff in which you can enroll in health insurance once you become a VISTA member. I don't know what that number of days is, but you do have a grace period to get enrolled in your health coverage plan at that time. For those of you on the call, I see a question that came in. How do we confirm attendance? If you're on Skype, you should be typing your name and organization into Skype, and that is how I'm taking attendance. I have a question about student loan forbearance, and yes, I'd be happy to give you more information about student loan forbearance. When you receive the education award, you can place your educational loans into forbearance if they are qualified student loans, meaning federally backed student loans. And you're going to do that right through the My AmeriCorps portal. You won't be able to do that until you're activated in the system, which will likely be a few days after you begin your service. But you can go on to the My AmeriCorps portal, put your loans into forbearance, and then you don't have to pay on them for a year. In addition to being able to place your loans into forbearance, at the end of the year, your loans are going to accrue interest. And again, this is federally backed student loans. So once you complete your service term, we will pay for your insurance that was accrued in addition to giving you the education award. So that's how the forbearance process works. If your loans are not federally backed and you want to defer them, you're going to have to work directly with your lender. So those are loans that would not qualify for forbearance. But the forbearance benefit is certainly processed through the My AmeriCorps portal and a great benefit for individuals. Let's see. Let's see, other questions. I don't think there are any other questions. Ben, I see your comment, and I wish you well. I hope that they manage your situation in time. So with that said, I want to thank you all for being on the call. It's probably going to get loud here in a moment, but I'm going to unmute the lines. If you are have your questions satisfied, we can certainly you can certainly log off at this time. If you don't, I'm going to take you off mute so you can answer those questions. And just one other question I see popping up. Can we have access this conference call at a later date for reference? And if so, how? The answer, John, is yes. This is going to be available to you. And it's going to be available through your VISTA sponsor in the next few days. It'll take me about a day or two to get it up and loaded onto a website that it will be shareable for you. So yes, you will have access. So thank you all for dialing in. I'm going to go back to the next step slide, and I'm going to go ahead and take you off of mute so people can ask questions.
Presentation mode is now disabled.
All right, so we are now off of mute. I'm going to